I found my wife and my brother in a secret bed together, and then I planned to teach them a proper lesson. When the woman you love looks you in the eye and swears she would never betray you, you believe her. When the man who shared your childhood promises he has your back for life, you believe him too. But what happens when those two promises collide and shatter? My name is Daniel Carter, and this is the story of how my wife, the one person I trusted more than breath, cheated on me with my older brother, and how I clawed my way back from the wreckage. It's a story of blind loyalty, buried guilt, and the twisted ways family can break you from the inside out. Buckle up. Before we get to the betrayal, you have to understand where I came from, because roots decide how a tree breaks in the storm. Dad worked construction, hands like sandpaper, voice like a table saw. Mom balanced the chaos with soft hymns and blueberry pancakes. Dinner was a war zone of clashing silverware and louder opinions. Whoever spoke last had to clear the plates. I became fast and witty to dodge dish duty. Michael, well, he didn't have to dodge. Mom always declared his debate points thoughtful and shooed him away to focus on school. Sam, the youngest, kept his head down, building Lego castles and dreaming of quieter families. Michael and I, we danced between rivalry and camaraderie like it was second nature. One moment he'd be pushing my head underwater at Crystal Lake. The next, he'd throw an arm around my shoulders and claim nobody messes with my kid brother but me. That push-pull defined our bond, fierce loyalty wrapped in razor-edged competition. We both carried that into adulthood, and it became the fuse for everything that followed. Fast forward to college. Jacksonville University, journalism major, sophomore orientation mixer, lukewarm punch, fluorescent lights. That's where I first saw Claire Henderson. She stood near the DJ booth laughing at a joke I couldn't hear. Auburn hair, eyes the color of iced coffee, freckles that made constellations across her cheeks. I didn't believe in lightning bolt moments, but I do now, because suddenly every kid in that gym blurred except her. I asked her if the punch tasted as deadly as it looked. She laughed and said it tasted like failure and melted ice cubes. We talked for 2 hours. Classes, favorite childhood books, why Skittles are superior to M&Ms. By the end of the night, my cheeks hurt from smiling. That week, we grabbed coffee, then dinner, then accidentally signed up for the same creative writing elective. 6 months later, we were inseparable. The kind of couple people joke about needing crowbars to pull apart. Thanksgiving break, junior year, I brought Claire home. Mom adored her instantly. Dad grilled her about career plans. She handled him like a seasoned diplomat. Michael arrived late, fresh from graduate school finals. When he walked in, Claire's handshake lingered 1 second too long in his palm. I pretended not to notice. After dinner, Michael cornered me, smirk in place. She's a catch, Danny. Don't screw it up. It sounded like brotherly teasing. I told myself that's all it was. Claire and I graduated, moved to Atlanta, and stacked IKEA furniture in a one-bedroom apartment that smelled like paint and possibility. I proposed on a Ferris wheel. Cliché, I know, because she once said she loved feeling small against a big sky. She said yes, crying, laughing, the whole cinematic package. We married in a botanical garden under a canopy of wisteria. Michael stood beside me as best man. He toasted us, calling Claire my North Star in a chaotic sky. Guests swooned. Claire blushed. I beamed, oblivious. We worked hard. She at a nonprofit literacy foundation, me at the Atlanta Sentinel, as a copy editor clawing toward reporter. Money was tight, but joy ran high. Friday pizza picnics on the living room floor, Saturday morning jogs, Sunday coffee shop crossword duels. Sometimes Michael visited, crashing on our pull-out sofa. He'd spin stories about law school internships, corporate job offers, adventure races. His charisma filled every corner of our tiny flat, and I felt simultaneously proud and overshadowed. The first crack was small. Michael inviting Claire to a lecture on nonprofit tax law, said I'd be bored, and he had an extra ticket. I waved them off, deadlines piling on my desk. They came home bubbling about the speaker, inside jokes I didn't get. It was fine, I told myself. Just siblings-in-law bonding. The second crack, Claire started texting at odd hours, smile lingering after each ping. She said it was her coworker Jessica. Later I'd learned Jessica had an uncommon talent for using perfect punctuation, just like Michael. Year 3 of marriage. I landed an investigative piece on a city council bribery scandal. Late nights, early mornings, adrenaline and coffee. Claire supported me. Leftovers in the microwave, sticky notes with hearts on my laptop. But beneath the surface, something shifted. She was quieter. Phone face down more often. Excuses that tangled like yarn when I asked simple questions. Michael accepted a corporate counsel position in Atlanta. He moved into a loft 20 blocks from our apartment. I was thrilled. Brother close by, free basketball buddy. Claire's smile looked tight when I told her. He took us out to celebrate. Fancy steakhouse. Ordered wine older than our college degrees. At one point, I excused myself to the restroom. When I returned, Claire's hand rested on his wrist, their heads bent over a joke. They sprang apart like guilty teenagers. I laughed it off, but I felt the first real flicker of unease. Little things. I'd noticed Claire wearing perfume she claimed gave her headaches. She said I imagined it. I'd mentioned seeing her car parked outside Michael's building on my way to work. She said she'd been at yoga. I doubted my own memory, because why would she lie? Why would Michael let her lie? My gut screamed, but my loyalty muzzled it. Family first. Marriage forever. I repeated those mantras until they dulled. Every story of betrayal has a breaking point, the moment the truth bursts through like shrapnel. Mine came on a Wednesday. Gray sky, drizzle tapping the office windows. I'd stayed late fact-checking documents. My eyes blurred, so I drove home early, if midnight counts as early. Our apartment was dark. Claire had texted she'd be grading essays at a cafe with free Wi-Fi, but her laptop sat on the kitchen table, and her phone, she must have forgotten it, buzzed with an incoming call, Michael. My heart punched my ribs. I answered. Static. Then Michael's voice. Low, urgent. You still there, baby? Silence on my end. Claire? He repeated. The world tilted. I hung up, hands ice cold. Then I did something I swore I'd never do. I opened her messages, and there it was. Weeks of texts. Michael. Can't stop thinking about Sunday. Your perfume's still on my pillow. Claire. Stop it, you'll get me in trouble. A scream clawed my throat but died in silence. I closed the phone, set it exactly where I found it. Then I walked to the balcony, sat in the rain, and let it wash the world blurry so I wouldn't have to feel. I remember the smell of rain-soaked asphalt when Claire finally walked through the apartment door, dripping umbrella in hand. She froze, seeing me on the couch, her forgotten phone resting on my knee like an accusation. Sit, I said, voice foreign to my own ears. Her eyes flicked to the phone, then to me, then to the door. Fight, flight, or lie. She chose the lie first. Danny, I can explain. I cut her off. Don't explain, just tell me how long. She sank onto the armchair, rainwater pooling beneath her boots. 2 months, she whispered. That was a lie too? The text dated back nearly a year. I let it slide. My throat felt stitched shut by barbed wire. I dialed Michael on speaker. He answered on the second ring. Claire, it's Daniel. I could taste blood from biting my cheek. She's here. You're on speaker. Talk. Silence thicker than grave dirt. Finally. Danny, I'm sorry. For 15 minutes we spiraled. Claire claiming she loved us both differently, Michael insisting it started as a mistake and became a thing he couldn't stop. I hurled every betrayal-themed synonym my journalism degree could supply. Claire sobbed. Michael begged. I ended the call with a single verdict. You're both dead to me. That night, I filled 2 suitcases with Claire's clothes, set them outside our door, and texted Michael the apartment gate code. Then I locked myself in the bathroom, slid down the tiles, and cried until my ribs cramped. Mom called at dawn. Michael had told her first, painting himself as penitent. She pleaded for forgiveness, citing blood over mistakes. I hung up. At work, I told my editor I needed leave. He assumed it was for the bribery expose stress. Let him think that. George's no-fault divorce looked simple on Google until real emotions entered. Claire wanted mediation. I wanted obliteration, property division, joint savings, retirement plans. Every spreadsheet column felt like carving marrow from bone. Our lease ended in 6 months. I refused to break it, forcing Claire to crash at Michael's loft. If they wanted each other, let them share the fallout. Michael texted daily, paragraphs of guilt, nostalgic memories, Bible verses about forgiveness. I blocked him on everything except email, because I needed a paper trail for court if asset disputes arose. Each apology subject line felt like spam from an alternate universe. Couple friends split like cells in mitosis, half-sided with Claire. Love is messy, nobody's perfect. The rest rallied behind me with whiskey shots and couch space. One friend, Lena, surprised me with a midnight doorstep delivery, lasagna, and noise-canceling headphones. She said, eat, then drown their voices. Best advice of the month. Sleep deserted me. I'd lie in bed and replay every moment I thought was real. Claire squeezing my hand at our wedding, Michael hugging me after I landed the Sentinel gig, now revealed as props in a puppet show. At 3 a.m., I'd pace the balcony, Atlanta's skyline blinking like a busted neon sign. I scribbled rage poems, burned them in a cereal bowl, flushed the ashes. It didn't help. HR recommended counseling. I sat on a faux leather couch across from Dr. Patel, a psychologist with warm eyes and relentless homework. She asked me to list 10 things I still trusted. I wrote coffee, seatbelts, sunrise, then blank lines. By session 4, I quit. Whiskey became my co-author. I drank to blur the mental slideshow of Claire and Michael together. I stopped jogging, stopped showering, lived on takeout lo mein. 2 months in, I blacked out at a bar, woke in an ER with IV fluids, and a nurse who called me sweetheart like I was 5. That was rock bottom's foyer. I hadn't yet reached the basement. One Friday, half drunk, I posted screenshots of their texts on Facebook. tagged Michael, tagged Claire, captioned, "When your wife and your brother turn family into a 4-letter word." Within hours, 600 comments, shock, pity, gossip vultures circling. Mom left a crying face emoji. My editor called, furious. "You're a journalist, not a tabloid." I deleted the post, but the screenshots flew across group chats like dandelion seeds. HR summoned me. My performance tanked. Sources complained I missed calls. They offered sabbatical or probation. I chose sabbatical, unpaid. My bank account shuddered. Michael emailed, "You're destroying our parents with this public shaming. Please stop." I replied, "Should have thought of that before you destroyed my marriage." He threatened defamation lawyers. I laughed. Truth is an absolute defense. Thanksgiving approached. Mom insisted on family dinner. For healing. I refused. She begged. I caved under one condition, separate conversations with Michael first. We met on his condo roof, city lights sparking below. He looked thinner, guilt etched around his eyes. "Why her?" I asked. He swallowed. "Because she listened. Because she believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." I barked a laugh. "Funny. That's what little brothers are for." He cried. Real tears. I felt nothing, like watching rain hit someone else's window. Mom cooked enough turkey to feed a platoon. Claire stayed home. To respect boundaries. Good. Dinner was a minefield of unsaid apologies. Dad drank silent bourbon, eyes flicking between us like a referee too tired to blow the whistle. Dessert arrived. Mom clasped my hand, whispered, "Forgive him, Danny." I pulled away. "Some sins carved too deep, Ma." I left before pumpkin pie. 8 months post-discovery, the judge stamped our divorce decree. I signed with a pen that felt heavier than my hand. Claire got the Nissan. I kept the dog. She cried outside the courthouse. I nodded once, walked away. I split our joint savings with mathematically cold precision. My attorney called it admirably fair. I called it scorched earth. Nothing left to argue over. Freedom tasted like metal. Panic attacks ambushed me in grocery aisles, triggered by the scent of Claire's shampoo on strangers. I'd grip shelves until my knuckles bleached, breaths racing horses. I tried Dr. Patel again. This time she assigned EMDR, eye movement therapy, for trauma. I tracked a light bar left-right while describing the betrayal. Slowly the memory's edges dulled. Pain remained, but the shockwaves lessened. Healing is rarely a phoenix rising in one glorious blaze. It's more like building a cathedral out of matchsticks, tiny, fragile pieces carefully placed, knowing one gust could topple everything. I started with the smallest stick, routine. Dr. Patel challenged me to craft a non-negotiable morning. 45 minutes of deliberate calm before the world barged in. For 30 straight days, I honored that contract. By week 3, the panic attacks shortened. By week 4, I tasted food again. Not just chewed, tasted. I boxed every wedding keepsake, photos, dried bouquet, our happy place map, and delivered it to a storage unit named Limbo in my phone. I rearranged furniture, painted the bedroom a storm cloud gray Claire once vetoed. Each brushstroke felt like a new paragraph in a fresh chapter. Lena, lasagna hero, dragged me to Java Rabbit on a rainy Saturday. She slid a brochure across the table. Great Appalachian Run, Relay Edition. 220 miles. Teams of 6. Benefits PTSD research. I laughed. I can barely jog a mile without thinking my lungs will sue me. She sipped latte foam. Pain gives you excuses. Purpose takes them away. I rolled my eyes but took the brochure. That night I signed up, half out of spite, half out of craving a target larger than heartbreak. Our relay team stitched together misfits. Lena, marketing exec, turned endurance junkie. Carlos, former Marine chasing civilian adrenaline. Jenna, pastry chef who ran so she could eat frosting with impunity. Tyson, tech support rep, fresh off a divorce marathon of his own. Me, emotional roadkill turned rookie runner. Coach Miriam, 62, ultramarathon legend who called us ducklings and meant it lovingly. First group run, 3 miles through Piedmont Park. I dry heaved against a water fountain halfway. Miriam patted my back. Survival is pace enough today. Week by week, muscles remembered they had purpose. Knees protested, lungs burned, but the blur in my skull cleared a fraction more each sunrise. 6 months post-sabbatical, I emailed my editor, ready to pitch when you are. He replied within an hour. City Hall whistleblower just surfaced. Needs a discreet, hungry reporter. Interested? Discreet and hungry. I embodied both. We met at a diner. Over burnt coffee, he laid out the assignment. Covert meetings, anonymous sources, months of digging. I signed on, my recorder humming like a dormant engine reignited. Corruption hides in plain spreadsheets. I spent nights cross-referencing vendor payments, charitable foundations, sudden luxury condos and council members' names. The puzzle pieces clicked into a picture of kickbacks and shell companies. Adrenaline replaced whiskey. The story grew page by page like scaffolding around my self-worth. Front page, bold headline, Baton Boulevard Project, $12 million vanished. My byline glowed. Social media buzzed, this time for journalism, not personal drama. HR reinstated my full salary, plus hazard bonus. More importantly, I felt useful again. An architect of truth instead of curator of pain. One Thursday evening, shopping list in hand, eggs, spinach, almond milk. I turned to aisle 6 and nearly collided with Claire. She clutched granola, freeze-frame shock on her face. Her hair was shorter, eyes rimmed with fatigue. She whispered, "Hi, Danny." My heart kicked but kept rhythm. "Claire." We stood like strangers in a museum of shared history. She asked how I was. I said, "Rebuilding." She smiled fragilely. She mentioned Michael, out of town on corporate travel. I nodded. She apologized again, voice quivering. Something in me finally believed her remorse, but belief didn't equal invitation. I wished her well. We parted without fireworks, just the soft click of healing edges no longer rubbing raw. The encounter felt like foreshock. Weeks later, Mom called. Dad had a mild stroke. Left side weakness, speech slurred, hospital in Tallahassee. I drove down midnight roads, relay training playlist on repeat. My chest tightened, passing childhood landmarks. At the hospital, Michael sat outside ICU, suit rumpled, eyes red. We stared. Years of brotherhood and betrayal waged wordless war. Finally, he whispered, "Mom needs us both." We formed a fragile truce at Dad's bedside, adjusting pillows, translating doctor jargon. Dad squeezed our hands weakly, unaware of our silent treaty. Coffee vending machine hallway at 3 a.m. Michael broke, "I'm engaged. Proposed last month." I blinked. "To Claire?" He nodded. "She said yes, but wants your blessing, says we can't set a date without it." Anger flared. Nostalgic. Sharp. But not blinding like before. I took a breath. "My blessing's irrelevant, but if you want my consent to stop hating you, earn it by never giving her reasons to doubt you the way you both gave me." His eyes watered. "I will." I shrugged. "That's between you and her." My chapter's closed. June sunrise painted the Blue Ridge gold. Our team huddled at the start line, neon bibs flapping. Miriam drew a Sharpie heart on each of our wrists. "For courage," she said. I ran leg 3, 12 miles of switchbacks. At mile 6, thighs screaming, I pictured Claire and Michael's betrayal and let it dissolve like fog in sun. At mile 8, I thought of Dad learning to speak again. Mile 10, Mom's blueberry pancakes. Mile 12, my own name, clear and steady. I slapped the relay bracelet onto Tyson's wrist, collapsing into Lena's hug. We finished the race in 32 hours, 14 minutes. Middle of the pack, but for us, a summit. A volunteer draped finisher medals around our necks. The metal felt warm from the sun, heavy with proof. Lena snapped a photo. I smiled, truly, widely, without effort, for the first time in almost 2 years. Back in Tallahassee, Dad's speech therapy bore fruit. One afternoon, he gestured me close and rasped, "Proud of you, son." Tears blurred everything. This man who once measured pride in touchdowns and GPAs now recognized resilience as victory. My corruption series sparked state investigation. The Sentinel promoted me to senior investigative reporter, office with a window, view of the skyline that once haunted me. Dr. Patel framed my promotion email. Evidence file, she called it. Proof I could rise. 2 months after Dad's release, a cream envelope arrived. "Michael Carter and Claire Henderson request the honor of your presence." RSVP card, blank. I stared long, called Dr. Patel. She asked, "Attending would serve which part of your healing?" I said, "Maybe closure." She said, "Or maybe fresh bruises." Weigh wisely. I placed the invite on my bookshelf, next to the framed front page of my expose, and let it sit, decision pending. The wedding invitation remained on my shelf like Schrodinger's cat, both accepted and declined until observed. Weeks ticked by. Finally, a therapist exercise tipped the scale. Dr. Patel instructed, "Write 2 letters, one where you attend the wedding, one where you don't. Then read them aloud to feel the emotional weight. Dear Michael and Claire, I will stand in the back pew. I will witness your vows and release the last shard of bitterness. I will choose to believe love can rise from ashes, even if I was the fuel." Reading it, my chest loosened. Regretfully, I decline. My absence protects peace I fought to build. I wish you joy from afar, but my scars deserve distance. That one felt hollow. I realized attending wasn't approval. It was graduation. I checked the accepts with pleasure box, added +1 Lena in neat print, sealed the envelope, and felt a strange calm bloom. At the tailor, stepping into a charcoal suit triggered echo memories of my first wedding tux. Needles pricked fabric. Nostalgia pricked heart. Lena squeezed my shoulder. Different suit, different story. Michael invited me to a small bachelor dinner. No wild clubs, just steaks and scotch with his groomsmen. I agreed under conditions, honesty, and zero Claire talk. That night he toasted, "To brothers who survive hurricanes." I clinked glasses. The scotch burned, but not as much as betrayal once did. Progress. A week before the ceremony, Claire emailed a single paragraph. "Thank you for coming. Your forgiveness teaches me more about love than anything else ever could. I didn't reply. Some conversations end better in silence. A lakeside chapel in North Georgia, glass walls reflecting pines and sky. I arrived with Lena, our steps crunching gravel. Family eyes tracked me. Some curious, some relieved. Claire walked down the aisle in a simple ivory gown. Michael waited, nerves visible. When they exchanged vows, I focused on Lena's steady breathing beside me, grounding me. At "Speak now or forever, hold your peace," a ripple of tension passed through guests like electricity eyeing a conduit. Me? I stayed seated, hands folded, peace held. Unexpectedly, Michael asked me to toast. He said, "No one knows love's resilience like my brother." Microphone in hand, I took a breath. Love isn't flawless. It scars, heals, and sometimes breaks bones so they grow stronger. Michael and Claire found something worth rebuilding. May their new foundation be stronger than the fault lines. To growth, to forgiveness, to futures unchained. Applause. Claire wiped tears. I felt lighter, as if a final debt was paid. Driving home, Lena asked how I felt. I answered truthfully, empty in a clean way, like a room after moving boxes out, ready for new furniture. The Sentinel offered me a chance to lead a new investigative podcast. I hired Lena as producer. Our chemistry on and off air translated into dynamic storytelling, episodes dissecting urban corruption, human resilience, systemic failures. Dad, motivated by my relay story, joined a stroke survivor walking club. On a milestone 5K, he crossed the finish line. Mom cried against my shoulder. He joked, "Next one we run together, kid." Late autumn evening, rooftop of my apartment. Lena handed me hot cider. We looked over twinkling city lights. She whispered, "We outran the ghosts, huh?" I kissed her, gentle, questioning. She kissed back, certain. Our relationship grew slow, respectful of scar tissue. Two people choosing each other, not needing rescue, just partnership. A literary agent heard our podcast, loved my narrative style. She proposed a memoir, Shattered Bonds, Rebuilding After Double Betrayal. Writing reopened wounds, but also showcased healed tissue. Each chapter balanced pain with lessons. For anyone who's ever been broken by the ones you trusted most, may you learn your own hands can rebuild what others smash. I stand on a pier in Savannah with Lena, now my fiancé. We visit Mom and Dad, who relocated for milder winters. Sam, our quiet youngest brother, joins with his husband, laughter loud under gull cries. Michael and Claire live in Seattle. We exchange holiday cards, distant but cordial. Their first child, a daughter, bears Claire's freckles and Michael's grin. Seeing her photo stings sweetly, proof life grows from wreckage. I no longer define myself by who betrayed me, but by who I chose to become afterward. I stand on a pier in Savannah with Lena, now my fiancé. We visit Mom and Dad, who relocated for milder winters. Sam, our quiet youngest brother, joins with his husband. Laughter loud under gull cries. Michael and Claire live in Seattle. We exchange holiday cards, distant but cordial. Their first child, a daughter, bears Claire's freckles and Michael's grin. Seeing her photo stings sweetly, proof life grows from wreckage. I no longer define myself by who betrayed me, but by who I chose to become afterward. 5 years after the betrayal, life settled into an unfamiliar word, ordinary. Alarm clocks, grocery lists, podcast deadlines, dog walks, wedding planning. But ordinary, I learned, was its own extraordinary triumph after chaos. Yet even instability, echoes linger. Certain songs, certain street corners, certain jokes still tug memories like loose threads. The difference now? I choose whether to pull them. Forgiveness often gets confused with permission. One grants peace, the other grants repeat access. Forgiving Michael and Claire never meant opening the door for a sequel. It meant shutting it without boarding it up in bitterness. Peaceful boundaries became my architecture. The launch event, held in an independent Atlanta bookstore, felt surreal. Rows of folding chairs, stacks of hardcovers bearing my face, older, steadier. Lena introduced me, Dad, cane in hand, sat front row. Mom dabbed tears. Sam live-streamed for extended family across states. I read an excerpt, chapter 11, where I described the ER wake-up after my blackout. Silence clung heavy, then applause. Gentle, genuine. People queued for signatures, sharing their own betrayal scars. I realized the book wasn't a gravestone. It was a lighthouse for others still at sea. Podcasts, radio, morning TV, interviews asked, if you could change one moment, what would it be? My answer evolved. At first, I'd catch them sooner. Later, nothing. I wouldn't be me without the wreckage. Finally, I'd learned earlier that self-worth isn't issued by others. It's homegrown. Book sales funded a scholarship for journalism students researching family dynamics and mental health. Full circle service. Spring sun warmed Savannah's riverfront as Dad and I lined up for a stroke survivor charity 10K. 5 years ago, he could barely squeeze my fingers. Today, he aimed for 6 miles. We alternated jogging and walking. At mile 4, his breath hitched. Memories of hospital beeps flashed, but he waved worry away. We finished in 1 hour, 23 minutes. Volunteers draped finisher medals. Cheap tin, priceless meaning. Dad whispered, "Told you, kid." We laughed until lungs hurt. In a good way. Lena and I chose an intimate coastal ceremony. 30 guests, oak trees draped in Spanish moss, vows at golden hour. We wrote our own promises, heavy on honesty, light on forever cliches. I mailed invitations to Michael and Claire, expecting polite declines. Instead, Michael called, "We'd be honored if you're sure." I was sure, because this story wasn't about erasing the past, but proving the future could hold everyone's better self. May afternoon, salt breeze teasing linen. Lena walked barefoot down a shell path, violet wildflowers braided in her hair. My vow. I don't promise no storms. I promise to build shelters with you when they come. When the officiant pronounced us, applause mingled with gull cries. I caught Michael's eye. He nodded, hand on Claire's shoulder, their daughter giggling between them. A peace treaty sealed without words. Instead of a first dance, Lena and I led guests in a barefoot dash along the surf line, laughter skimming the waves. Dad DJ'd 70s rock from a Bluetooth speaker. Sam busted disco moves. Claire joined, boots in hand, twirling her daughter. Seeing her, I felt no sting. Only proof that time, therapy, and choice forge potent antidotes. After honeymoon road tripping the Pacific coast, I tattooed 3 words on my forearm. Build, break, build. It's a personal creed. Life builds, life breaks. We build again. Stronger, stranger, wiser,